Hello, Bonnie Krahn.
Hello.
Welcome to the Speak USA podcast.
Thank you. Glad
So
to be here.
so glad you're here. And you look familiar.
Long time no see.
Indeed. You know what I was laughing about earlier, Phil, is like it's the same Phil and it's the same Cliff, but we're like actors because we're doing wardrobe changes.
We're upscaled now.
We're upscale. Okay, what's up with that? Well, anyway, Phil, we're just here hanging out. Bonnie, you're the star of the show here. Thank you, thank you so much for joining us. This is the Speak USA podcast. I'm Cliff Zentgraf, your host, and we're going to learn about our democracy and what we can do to protect it and make it stronger, which virtually everyone who comes on this podcast is doing, including you, for a very long time. Bonnie, why don't you introduce yourself, introduce your nonprofit.
Okay, I'm the founder and chair of the Face-to-Face Project. It's got a very long name. It's the official Face-to-Face Project of campaign videos for voter education, and had to have all that on there in order to get our 501c3 on the assignment. So we started off with just doing videos of candidates because they were telling us at meetings a lot more than anybody knew about them and stuff that would get them elected in a heartbeat. And I said, you know, voters need to hear this stuff. So we started filming them, and I had a...
How long ago was that?
That was 2015 when I started. And we had a forum there in Travis County, and I put it on in the gym at the high school. They allowed us to rent out the gym, and I mean, not the gym, the theater. And so I invited everybody on our ballot, and about 26 committed, 28 showed up. And I found out from Travis County it was the largest forum ever put on in Travis at that time. And NBC News came in and was there filming this, so that was my first forum.
Wait. NBC News, was that like your first one?
Yes.
Wow.
I invited them, though.
Okay, well, they came on an invitation. All right.
They will come at their whim. They will or they won't, you know, and so I never knew when they were going to come or not, but I was really surprised when they did.
Yeah,
so that was nice.
Came to check out what you're doing.
Yeah.
So the Face-to-Face Project, right, is the official name.
The official name.
Of your nonprofit, and you've got three things that you have as part of Face-to-Face, right? It's the website,
right,
and the videos.
That's a YouTube channel.
The YouTube channel, okay.
Right.
Okay. By the way, I mean, we'll do this later, but let's do it now. Your YouTube channel, how do people find it?
You can either go and click on my name, look for Bonnie Krahn, or you can look for the official Face-to-Face Project.
Got it. Krahn.
Yeah, Krahn.
Yeah, I got that. Don't do it right now. Okay. But anyway, that, you know, we're hoping that they'll certainly go out and look at that. I think you have a newsletter as well. Is that right?
Right. We do have a newsletter, and we're working on getting a mailing list going, and I've already got over 4,000 people signed up for it. And I'm going, I need to send it out to them. But I'm trying to get stuff up for the primaries, and then I'll get around to doing that. But I've already written the newsletter. So it's available on the website. I
wonder if y'all have common DNA. But I know you're not related, but just listening to you talk and Phil thinking about what you're doing, and all the different things you're doing. Before we jump into Face-to-Face too much more, just to touch more about your background. You know, you did something before this and something before that.
Right. I was an elementary art teacher. I started in 1980. Teaching pre-K through 6th grade. And I wrote 7 textbooks for that, starting with pre-K, with kindergarten through 6th grade. And they're being sold nationally. Anyway, and so I also was on the TEKS Review Committee for the state of Texas and helped rewrite the standards for art, music, drama, and dance. And
that's Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills for anybody.
That sets the curriculum in the classroom that the teachers have to check off. Yes, I did that, and yes, I did that. Put it in our lesson plans on that day to show that we did it. And so what we did was we vertically and horizontally aligned ourselves together using the same vocabulary. Okay, so that the teachers, if they were saying something, and we weren't, confusing the kids on what vocabulary to use. And we also did cross-curriculum into what the classroom teachers were doing.
Adults have problems with that. I'm saying a word, you're saying a word. Yeah, we don't know what each other's talking about.
Yeah, so we were trying to make it past that, but I was able to get in quite a few changes in there, and one of them was to require that teachers teach respect for world culture. Which was very important, and it's still in there today.
I love that so much.
And also, I was able to get passed through. I was state delegate 6 times now. Hopefully, will be 7. And I was on the platform.
A delegate to
the Democratic State Convention.
Understood.
And I was able to get on at the platform committee. I was able to get 3 amendments onto the state platform. 4. 3 made it into law, and one of them was that teachers could purchase a textbook from any company they want to, as long as it meets the state standards. So they don't have to go through the state school book depository.
Both of us actually spend our days, we're not teachers, we don't work in schools, but we spend a lot of our days working with schools. And one of my little speechettes is that we don't treat teachers like professionals.
Right. I don't know. Never.
It's like, here's
me. I was an art teacher. I'm the bottom of the barrel.
Here's the march. Do the march, right?
Right.
And to have some standards, and for taxpayers to know they're getting their money's worth. That's important. But they're pros. They have a degree, right, and learned how to do that and have experience, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been able to write textbooks about it if I didn't know it inside and out. Yeah. But so, anyway, on that platform committee, I also got passed a law about eminent domain, and I actually had a Supreme Court justice quote it back to me, and she knew the law.
Wait. What was it?
So I got on there and I said, eminent domain can only be interpreted as it was originally meant to be, which is to be for the good of the public at large, not for the good of a corporation. And then and then the Republicans tacked on, except for oil and gas. Oh. So that it went through and it made it. And she uses it. She was using it in her stuff, and I was surprised that I am.
Are you at liberty to name this Supreme Court?
She's running for it right now.
Oh, running for Supreme Court. Okay.
It's Gisela Triana.
Okay. Got it.
She's the one that quoted it back, and I've had other people that knew that I did those too. So, and that's why I think if you don't, I'm sorry, we're getting off on a rabbit trail, but if you don't know how a platform committee works at the state conventions, whatever you write to amend our platform, our democratic platform, then the candidates come in or the politicians come in that are already in office, and they'll look it over and they'll say, ooh, I think I can make this into a law. And that's where they get their ideas from. Wow. So I had put in
Which
4.
is how the things you did became.
Right. I put in 4 and 3 made it into law, which even a candidate that makes it into office, for them to get that many things made into law is outstanding.
Yeah.
So I was really surprised that little old me, school teacher.
Well, and you said we're on a rabbit trail, but the mission, here on Party Line, right? The mission of Speak USA is to help people who don't understand, who are upset about what's going on in our country right now. How you get started, right? And what a great example of that.
What I'm doing, I was an election judge, and I had so many people coming in that were voting blind.
Yeah. That's number 2, everybody, by the way. So we did teacher. Now we're doing election judge.
And I did election judge for 14 years. And any rate, so I'd have people come in that had absolutely no idea who the people were on the ballot, and they'd say, "Who do I vote for?" And I can't tell you. I can't tell you who to vote for. You're supposed to look that up before you come in. And of course, nobody has time to look all these people up separately. So I had this fella come in, and he had severe PTSD, and he was a combat veteran, and he was not doing well. And he says, "Where's your book?" And I go, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "Where's your little black book?" And I go, "I don't have one." And he said when he was in the service, all the service personnel have these books with everybody that was on the ballot, and they could go through and pick. I was, oh my gosh, that's such a good idea. So I told him, I'm sorry, I don't have anything like that.
You're not
But
allowed to
here,
have
League of Women Voters pamphlet. I don't know what else to give you. But so that's what got me started. And also we were having. I was the precinct chair in Travis County for Precinct 105, which was one of their largest precincts, and it went from South Louisville to almost Martin Luther King, all the way down the east side. And we would have the candidates come by all the time. And I saw them coming in, and they would tell us stuff going on about them that nobody else knew. And I said, we got to film this. And that's how I started filming. So, and I think, it's just grown from there. I started in Travis, and I moved to Hays County, which I'm now living in Hays County. And then it's gone out and out and out to statewide. And we also have one starting in Missouri. A chapter of what I'm doing has started in Missouri, and then all of this is just kind of falling in my lap.
So you're all over Texas, right?
Right.
And then Missouri, that would seem to be
they're just as bad
the frontier.
off as we are.
The frontier.
The frontier.
Yeah, the frontier.
We actually
I was trying to come up with the word.
We
I
actually
finally
had
got
a
it.
candidate here whose parents are county chairs in Missouri, and when they found out what I was doing for their daughter, they said, we want to do that here. And I said, here, let me show you how.
See, that's the way good stuff spreads right there. That's the
Right.
way
And-
it happens, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm a member of the Coalition of Democratic Allies, and they're a group that started in Bastrop. And what we believe in is that if you need data, and I've already done it here, you can use it. And we trade off on what we've got done. And I'm doing that with Nancy Thompson right now on her website, because she's done stuff and I've done stuff, and we're switching off and helping each other. So
Phil, how did you meet her?
So one of the projects we're working on was establishing websites for all of the Democratic counties, and we have a lot of rural red that do not have websites at all.
Right.
And so we started going through and trying to find data for those websites. And one of the things we look for is all the social media for that, for a particular county. And we came across a county, and I forgot who it was, but it had a website that was started by Bonnie. And so I'm engaged in another group where we're trying to figure out some standards on how we roll things out on the websites and that, and to make sure that we don't lose the data and lose those contacts. So I reached out to her just to find out what she was doing and how she was doing it. And so a expected 5-minute conversation became this hour-long conversation about all the wonderful things that she was doing, and realized in that call that about the whole notion of filming the candidates, which we then talked about starting the branch here and kind of moving to that, and so borrowed her idea and kind of moved on with it from here.
right.
So what does one of these engagements look like for you? Like you're out and you're interviewing the candidate. It's kind of a day in the life question I'm asking you, right? To help people watching or listening, like picture what it really looks like if they were standing in the back. What would it look like?
Right. In Travis, since I was a precinct chair, the candidates came to me usually. Okay, would come to our meetings, and then of course we would have forums and like that. I have put on major forums before. I had one when I first moved to Hays. It was all judicial, and that had never been done before. So that was amazing that we got all of them, and they were top level, state level. A lot of them that came into that, and I got them filmed. But right now, what I'm doing, since I'm not a precinct chair anymore, and I'm doing this more, the majority of what I do is more state level stuff. And so I go around to the forums and to the conventions and stuff like that. And like I said, I've been, when I got into the state level stuff, I saw the new chair, our new chair, and he was giving his speech, and he was saying, we're going to do this in the role, and we're going to do that in the role, and we're going to go out and do this. And I walked up and shook his hand and go, I'm already doing that. And he goes, what? Her name? Just find out all about it. So then I got, a few months ago, I got a email from them saying that you are now considered a stakeholder in the Texas Democratic Party, and we want you to attend the Zooms with the new chair. Mm-hmm. And I went, oh.
Wait, a state, what? Say that word again?
Okay, they considered me a stakeholder with the...
Oh, a stakeholder.
Yes,
okay.
with the state-level Democratic Party, which I thought was... We're trying to get nonprofits, and this is what I'm doing for everybody. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to make sure I do it. more recognition within the Texas Democratic Party than what they already have. And to let the county chairs and the precinct chairs and all that, we're there to help you. We're there to help you connect and get organized and all that. We're not in competition with you by any stretch of the imagination. So that's one of the things on my agenda.
What's an interesting place you've gone to do this that is not Austin or?
I was going to talk to you about that a while ago. There was, when I was in Tarrant County, when I first started out, there was a time when Democrats were in hiding. And it was seriously bad. We had Tea Party Central was not far from us in Keller. And there was where all the Tea Party people were. And it was just awful. We were just real quiet. And we put our head down. And we didn't say nothing to anybody. And I became a precinct chair. And I said, I'm a loud, proud Democrat. I don't care. And so I put an advertisement out that we were going to have debate watch party. Okay. And I didn't know anybody in my whole area, North Richland Hills, where there were any Democrats up there. I just didn't know any of them. So I put this in, and we had, and they started, and we lost count at 160 people. And that was within a 3-mile area.
Yeah.
That was real memorable.
Well, you know, when people's heads are down like that, and then there's an opportunity that comes up, it's like, thank goodness. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would have meetings with them in DCD, Senate district stuff.
This will be a weird analogy, but I remember when I was in high school, my high school football team was in the playoffs, and we had to go to Houston for the game. And the other team's band played for an hour and a half, and we were just all so sick of it. And then finally our band comes out of the back and comes marching. That moment, it was just like, oh, thank goodness. And I could just see these people that are in Tarrant County.
They were just
right?
stunned.
Finally, right?
I found out everybody on my circle there on the little dead-end street there were all Democrats. And we were. And
you didn't even.
I've known them for 30 years.
Well, so you brought up when we were talking beforehand the encouragement factor,
oh yes, absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
To encourage people. Now, what he was talking about is that, Beto was saying this too. He would go out to places in the rural areas, and there would be nobody there. There'd be nobody to meet him. There was no organization. And I pitched a fit when I found out there were 60 counties without a Democratic chair. Yeah. So what I did was I said, okay, I'm going to solve that right now. I'm going to start Facebook pages for each and every one of those counties, and I'm going to put on their date, time, and place of your election, and this is who's on your ballot.
And that's another topic that we talked about earlier, that not every place that should have announced who candidates are had done it
prior to that, when I first started, and I go through, I find all these little rabbit trails on what I'm doing of stuff that's that's blatant voter suppression, absolutely blatant voter suppression. And one of the first things I found was that the county web pages that are supposed to have up by Texas election code, supposed to have up the election data, didn't have it up. A lot of them. And I didn't go in there and yelling, you terrible people. Or, I got in there and go, okay, why? And I looked, and they had a terrible website. And they didn't even have an election page on there. And so I went and I talked to some of them and tried to encourage them to, get the information up. And I gave them the sources of what needs to be on there. Got a letter from the Secretary of State. This is what needs to be on your website. And I didn't accuse anybody of anything. I said, here, let's get this done. And I didn't know. I know. Okay, so now you know, and I'll give you the information you need up there. And then I talked, and I've got in my head now, you can't talk to individuals here and there and take you forever. You go to the person in charge. So I went to the person who was the chair of the Association of Election Admin for the state of Texas. And I gave them the information. You're in violation of the Texas election code. This, and this. Then the next election cycle. And I gave them an example of someone, I don't know where she was, way out in the middle of the stick somewhere. And she had come up with this incredible incredible website, and her page was perfect, and it was just awesome. I said, look, she did it right, you know, it was in Rusk County or somewhere like that, you know, and I said, look at how great she did. I did send her a letter. Sorry. I did send her a letter saying, you know, you did a great job. I really appreciate you doing this. And I found out who did her website, who was the webmaster. And that's who I turned over to the chair of the election admin. And within the next election cycle, all but 4 had switched to that page. And I was going, these might be, they were really, the counties had like 60 people in them and stuff, you know, and I was going, oh, well, they probably didn't have any money to go with a new page. Yeah. But the rest of them all switched over.
That's a real contribution. We talk about this, Phil, to contest every position, right. Mm-hmm. And what was the stat that we have a candidate? Help me out here, Phil.
So every federal and state position has a candidate running on the Democratic Party this go around, which is like the second time ever.
Yeah,
but that's all state level.
State, yes, federal and state.
Federal and state, but not
state.
County.
Not county.
Not county.
And county we did in Bear County we did wonderful. And
I was going to say I think in Bear County that is true.
It's true statement as well.
Right.
But, you know, and so part of it, but when you go out to the rural red, you know, certainly it's going to be a lot harder to make that happen out there. And
and what I was going to say too is that after that I created those county Facebook pages for the counties where they didn't have a chair. Then, like I said with Beto about him not being able to find anybody there, I made Facebook pages for every county in the state. Mm-hmm. And it says, and I made it where you can find it easy. It says like Hayes County Democratic group. No, Democratic candidate group. That's what they're called. So the candidates can go on there and post to their heart's content, and you know, you're not end up on somebody's list and getting spammed or something. So voters can go on there and just look at all the candidates that are going to be on their ballot and learn about them and stuff like that. And it's all free, and they don't have to ask me if they can post donation. I said, no, go ahead. Have fun, whatever you want to post on there. And so we've had...
Yes, but has anybody handed you their website URL and credentials lately to get you to build their stuff for them?
I've had some people ask me.
But, See,
that's another thing.
I asked that one like a lawyer because I already knew the answer to the question.
Right, okay. The county chair, the State County Chairs Association asked me to teach the new chairs coming in how to do Facebook pages. So on top of everything else, I was doing that for a bit, and I can still do that.
And I'm going to reshare that saying that I know so well. If you want to get something done, ask a busy person.
Ask a busy person.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're seeing all this stuff that I'm doing. But actually, they had this on their agenda, and this is important for candidates to know and for anybody that's like a county chair or precinct chair, whatever. They found out that you need to have your information up on all the major platforms, because like TikTok, I mean, that's going to be high school, college level. Instagram, 40-year-olds, you know, Facebook over 60, or whatever. But each one has a demographic that they meet, so you need to make sure you get all your stuff up there like that. And so that's what we're encouraging. So I was the Facebook person to get them to make a Facebook page and show them how to do it. And then somebody else was showing them Instagram, and somebody else was showing them, you know, trying to get the chairs to do all this other stuff. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it has to do on having a website is paying for it. And we're working on that too at the state level about making and I said, we've got to get this under control because they'll put on their family stuff or something like that. You can't do that. You know, if it's an official Facebook page for the party, it should just have party information.
That's right. That's right.
And so I said,
an account with a party email address and all of that thing.
All that.
Yeah.
We need to protect our people, and you know. So I was working towards getting the state party to set up a system and pay for all that, and it's in the pipeline. I've talked to him, and it's in. We'll see if it actually comes about or not. But you know, I was seeing, and I started adding up numbers, and on all those pages out in the middle of nowhere, I put, you know, these are how many people. There were 147 people in your county voted Democratic last election, and they'd go, "No, I'm the only one here." And I go, "No, you're not. There's a bunch of y'all." So you can meet on this page. Now, the pages are open to the public, and they will tell me, and especially in the very red zones, I cannot put my name on that page. If I do, I'll lose my job, or I'll be bullied. My kids will be harassed, whatever. I said, it's open. You can go on there and read everything that's on there, and your footprint will not be on there anywhere.
Yeah.
I don't save it. I don't, spam you, anything like that. And so we have some that have over 100 people on them already. And then we've got some that have 3 or 4. And, and it's building because the candidates are starting to know about it, and they're starting to join too.
That concern, and I'll use this to kind of move us to a related topic here. That concern is not illegitimate.
Right.
And I want to, and this I think is a question for both of you. The interviews that you've done, I mean, I would imagine we kind of know what the themes are from those interviews, but it's always good to talk it through, and maybe there's a surprise in there. What themes do you hear when you are interviewing these candidates that come out across?
I am amazed at the credentials of these people that are running. I said, people don't know that. In fact, for example, she'll probably get on me for saying this. Elaine Cardenas, it was our county clerk in Hays County, and she has a doctorate, and she has all these credentials. I mean, way above everybody else there. And I said, nobody knows that. I said, you need to toot your own horn, or get up on there and tell us what your background is. And of course, she got elected right away. And I said, this is what you need. I need to, I asked him, what's your name? What are you running for? What's your platform? Why do you want to be a public servant?
Wait. Y'all, wait.
We're going through
hold
we're
on.
going through each of those because she gave you the list. And
Okay,
that is the list
I got
we're
the
using.
camera.
Okay.
Hold on. So let's back up. Now I want you to do exactly what you just did again. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So I'll ask the candidate, what's your name? What office you're running for? Okay. What is your education work background?
For those of you listening on Apple Podcasts, Phil is visually tracking here. Keep going.
Okay. Especially work background in education. I'll go off on that rabbit trail in a minute. And then I say, what's your platform? What is the main things that you think are important that you want to take care of? And then why do you want to be a public servant? That's what I usually, when I film them, I ask them to say. Now, they may have a...
Well, did you have one for some that your platform or some that you're proud of that you accomplished or went through? Did you have that as well? So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
On their absolutely. I said, if there's anything that you started
Right.
that nobody knows about, like we had a judge candidate in Travis, and Chantel Eldridge, and she started a program to stop the high school to prison pipeline. She started the program. She runs the program, as far as I know, and it's keeping the revolving door from her courtroom, and she's the one that did it. People need to know that. And don't keep it to yourself. Really let people know.
Yeah, without trying to advocate for a candidate, but Judge Huff and I, in the last, 2 podcasts ago now, talked about the things that she's doing to educate the community, right? She's like a judge out in the community and really focused on trying to educate people and not just sit back and allow people to come streaming into the courtroom. That's awesome.
Yes, and there's so many, especially judges. Nobody knows about the judges, so that's one of my main focuses. Is I put on their bio. Nobody has their bios. And I put on this is where they went to school, this is their credentials, this is how long they're, if they're incumbent or how long they've been a lawyer or whatever, but their specialty, that's one thing I need to get up there, is their specialty, what their court actually does, because people don't know that. And then what the judges got her credentials in. What did she pass a bar? He passed a bar in.
I see a common theme between the way you do your interviews and Phil, the way we talked about the interviews that you did locally. You're trying to sort of get the candidates in a good place, right? We were actually talking about that as we were waiting outside.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Trying to help them present well, coaching.
Coaching, yeah. So and giving them lots of space and making them as comfortable as it can be, so that the interview comes off more conversational, And then it actually does, I think, reach out to a lot more people in a good way versus someone looking at the camera and going, here's my name, here's what I'm doing, versus a conversation, which is always good.
Indeed.
So, at any rate, yeah. And I try on the candidates, this has been from the get-go, to promote candidates that cannot afford a media budget. Okay, so I'll go in there. I mean, a lot of times my films are grandma with an iPhone, here I go, or if it's a big forum or whatever, I'll rent a camera from a precision camera, but I've recently bought a decent camera. And, I'll go in there and they don't have the money for media, but I'll take a good video of them from somewhere or another, some forum or some speech they were talking to in front of a club, and put it out there, and they'll get elected. Because that's the whole thing about face-to-face is you get to see the person, you get to hear them talk, you get to see what's important to them, and that sets us aside from League of Women Voters or anybody else. I mean, it can be used in addition to what they got, And I do put some of their stuff. I told them, I said, I use y'all 411 on there. I said, to find out, to look up what's on your ballot.
Well, it's compliment. I mean, League of Women Voters is doing something really important, right? They're they are nonpartisan, right?
Well,
here you are able to shape's maybe not quite the right word, to give them a platform and help them take maximum advantage of that platform. Right.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like the allies. We're all in this together. We're just trying to, preserve our democracy and our Constitution. And if you're doing that too, I'll help you out. We'll share our data so we don't all have to look it up.
Yeah, that's the themes topic right there. Boy, this is a lot of work that you're doing, Bonnie.
Yeah.
Why are you doing this?
It has to do with the legacy and the fact that I was just blown away the first time, like when I got those things on the platform committee and it changed state law. As a classroom teacher, I was able to do that, and to know that the power I've got can actually be for the good and help improve the situation in the world. And, and I'm saying, people don't need to go in to vote blind on an election. You need to know who's on the ballot and make your own decisions, because I don't favor one candidate over another. I just put down on there, what their bio says about them, and their links and their web links so that the person can look it up and all that. And the videos I try to make are 5 minutes or less, so that they have a quick, I can see that person's mannerisms and the way they talk and all that kind of stuff, and get to know the person. As best they can.
Well, there's just no substitute.
No, there
isn't. Hearing them in their own words, their own voice, and their presentation.
And I've talked to real high up candidates like Wendy Davis and all that about what I was doing, and she
ran for governor of Texas, right?
And she was going, "Why haven't we done that before?" And I said, "Good question." I'm asking the very same thing, So and my thing is on what I'm doing. When I do the bios and when I do the videos and all that, I will turn them over to the county party and they can use them however they want to. I don't have a copyright on any of that. And I have had some of the larger cities go ahead and do it on their own. And that's my bottom end game. It's that when a candidate comes in to sign up to be on the ballot, get them to fill out a piece of paper with their web links. Find out their bio. Get all that information right there. Take a headshot of them. Take a short video of them. So you got it from the get-go, and then put that on your things. It doesn't take long, and it's not costly to do. So and just so you know too, as a retired teacher, I don't have any money to give candidates. I seriously don't. And I said, but I can do this.
You don't have a multi-million-dollar...
No, but I taught up to 1,100 kids a week. 700 to 1,100 kids a week. And I had to keep up with all their papers, and did you finish this, and did you get your grades in, and are you going to pass, and all, and on every single child, I had to know what they were doing, where they were going, and what they needed to get finished. And so coming into this going, oh yeah, I've done this before. It's basically...
Yeah, hey, I'm going to pull us on a tangent here. Phil and I have a mutual acquaintance. You know her better, Irene Irene Alvarez, who's a prior podcast guest, and she's an educator. We had this discussion. Now there are vouchers in Texas, and that was held out for a long time as well. Give me vouchers and I'll now start treating the schools right. And then vouchers came along and a bone was thrown to educators. And surely you have a perspective on this.
I'll try to be nice. Yeah, I'm completely against vouchers. It's a scam from the get-go. And it's taking people who are already well off and paying for their education when the little kids can't even afford, like my kids, they went to Ivy League schools, but they had and they got full scholarships, but still when they graduated, they owed more than what a house cost, and that's the way we end up footing the bill, it's because that's what happens when people that are below a certain economic level. And the other ones are, yes, we're going to take your money away from your public school and give it to these kids that don't even need it, and all that.
Yeah.
And you can't control, as a teacher, you cannot control what they're teaching in there. You absolutely cannot. I've had homeschoolers that came back and the kids were brilliant. I had homeschoolers that I said, what did you do all day? And they said, I rode my bike around the neighborhood while my mom went to work. And they didn't even know how to get in line. They didn't know anything. And it's not all teachers feel like it's important for us to educate every child we've got.
Yeah. Well, and beyond that, just beyond the fundamental importance of it, you don't get to choose who's in your classroom. Right. And to the extent that we feel like maybe an educated citizenry is good for the city, state, and country, we need to bring them all along. I like to talk about this in San Antonio in terms of competitiveness, okay? Which all the other reasons are there. So San Antonio wants to be competitive on the state and national and global stage, yet 20%, is just pulling a number out of the air, of our population is not riding along with the city's growth. Why would we not try to bring that 20% into the game? I don't get it, right? And now we're taking steps that's reducing the amount of resources that we have available in order to bring those students along.
Yeah, I keep thinking of all the kids with IEPs that have individual placement plans because something is not up to a normal class, on their intellect or supplementary skills. And they're just going to be flushed down the toilet. I mean, seriously. They're in a voucher program where they're going to approve a student to come into the class or not. They're not going to let those kids in. So what's going to happen to them? And they should never be tried to stay up with an average child in the classroom. They should be able to do the best they can at whatever they've got going, whatever their abilities are, and just treat them like a normal human being, and that's not going to happen with a voucher program.
Yeah.
And I'll add another angle there. And so one of the things I always think about is the public education system is not a for-profit business. And so monies that we spend there doesn't get put in anybody's pockets. But the voucher program basically is being run by an organization, a business, and there are people being paid well, to have those businesses. And one could ask, who are those people that are being paid, and what is their role really in the higher echelons within the government itself? And so, who are we paying?
Yeah, you all know Alpha School. You've heard of it. Have you heard of Alpha School? It's essentially a school being taught by AI. I'm sure that's a little bit rounded off, but there was a great. I don't remember where I saw the article. There was a great recent article that talked about, the content that the students are getting, and the article. This was not some far left side publication that I was reading, and the word it used was AI slop. is what's being
It's not
delivered,
advanced.
and it's for profit,
Right.
right?
Yeah, I'm not in any way saying that in the future that I won't be able to do that. They're not at that level
And it's
yet.
not there now. No.
They're not there yet.
No, AI is a great assistant, and for a student can be a great assistant if used properly, and you got the right ethical and other controls in place for it. Yeah, indeed. Okay, well, since I'm the one that took us on the tangent, I'll be the one to pull us off of the tangent. But it's kind of under this heading of why are we doing this. And I am going to ask you one more, sort of take you down one more pointed path here. When we were talking earlier and we were talking about why we're doing this, you used the word quagmire. And that's the way I feel about it too. I mean, our federal and state governments, as it relates to our Constitution and our democracy, it is a quagmire.
Yeah, absolutely. What I'm seeing, and this is from being an election judge through when Trump and Hillary ran. Okay. And before that, being at the state conventions when Obama was, Hillary gave up and Obama became our nominee for the state of Texas. I saw so much stuff that was just absolutely wrong going on. Like I was saying, the way I do it is when I see stuff that I can see, okay, that's blatant voter suppression right there, then I solve it, and then I move on. And there is so much. It's a quagmire of all the stuff that's going on. And like I said, those think tanks are not just sitting there twiddling their thumbs. They were sitting there coming up with ways to keep us from being able to vote and hold office and whatever else. And so we've got to go in there and address each individual thing and solve it so that it won't happen again. And the same thing with the president we've got and all the quagmire that's come out of that. There's got to be quick laws, quick ways. I said quick courts. One said, something's, fixing to blow up like they need to have someone, a quick court will say, okay, this is an emergency situation. We've got to bring these people in right now. Not put him on a docket and 2 or 3 years later, while it's just piling up of all the things that he's destroyed is going on. It needs to be stopped.
One thing I don't understand is how we let 4 years go by and we didn't put more guardrails in place, having seen what happened in the first four.
That's what's so scary about the whole thing. I even said he needs 2 parliamentarians following him around. And whenever he does something wrong, go, point of order. That's illegal. You can't do that. And just not let him do it.
Yeah. But that your point is such a good one. That all we have is this stack of maybe cases piling up.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And by the time you get to the round of the point where you could actually adjudicate the case, it's done already. Right.
Yeah, I saw someone on the news the other day said we had 103 cases filed against Trump. Yeah, but was there any consequences?
Yeah.
You found him guilty. What were the consequences? He's still in office. He's still doing stuff.
Yeah.
And you don't even get into the Epstein files, oh my Lord. That I saw coming a long time ago because I kept thinking to myself when I found out that there were human trafficking going on even at the major football games. There were girls being brought into those things and whatever. And it was huge. It was huge, and it was just going on everywhere. And it was like something we would never talk about. We're just not going to talk about. I thought, who's in charge of this? Because it's worldwide and it's massive. So whoever's in charge of it is it's completely interconnected into our whole life and our whole system, and find out, oh yeah, so it is. Yeah. So that's another thing that's going to have to be solved, and that's the whole reason that our Constitution was made, and all that was to shore up stuff like this, to keep bad things from happening, to good people, and for you to have a nice life without worrying about if you're going to be thrown in jail for no reason.
Yeah.
So I like to think about Trump's issues as you know, there are people that love to spend everybody else's money. And if you figure out how to do really well, you basically own nothing, and you're basically using everybody else's money. He's doing the same thing with our laws, and so basically, throwing it all away and doing whatever he wants. And when he's, at some time in the way future, they're going to snap up and say, oh, all these were the wrong things to be going on. But he's ahead of the curve. And
Right.
so it's how do you stay one head?
Well,
ahead of the jailer?
he's ahead of the curve, and his own party is not willing to hold him to account. I think a lot about I don't know the details of the story, but during Watergate, it was 2 or 3 Republicans who went to the White House and said, "You're done." Where are those people today?
Right.
And we know we're one of them, or actually more than one of them is Liz Cheney, right? She did it, but her, the party didn't come behind her. One thing that I think about all the time: 6 months after an insurrection was committed against our country on January 6th, our governor hosted this man in Texas. What in the world, right? And
Yeah,
should have been impeached, should have eventually been put in jail, and instead being hosted. It was the beginning of the rehabilitation. And to me, it was systemic and intentional.
Yeah, I think dear Abbott is coming up with stuff, and then Trump is going, "Oh yeah, I'll try that." I think that he's going, "What do you got going now, bud? Go talk to him for a little bit."
Yeah.
But it's some really scary stuff. And what I'm finding too, if you paying attention to all this stuff going on, is that people being thrown out of buildings and all kinds of stuff that is what Russia does with their people that don't toe the line, and it's been going on here now. And so people are saying, is my life worth giving up, to go up against this man? Will he kill my family? Will he, do away with all of us? What will he do?
Yeah.
And they're just scared.
And it only takes a few, right?
Yeah, and
the chilling effect.
It takes the threat of it.
Right.
They set an example with 1 or 2 people, and it's a threat of it that scares the jeebers out of everybody else.
Yeah.
So,
but I will take that and flip it into one little optimistic thing, and I'm pretty sure this was in The Economist, wrote about the immune response happening in America, and I love that thought. We are the antibodies. And when we are cranking up, an immune response takes like 4 or 5 days to build up, and then when it kicks in, and I know I'm being optimistic here, but you know what? I'm going to choose to be optimistic for this 1 minute, 60 seconds.
And I think about, why it is that we came to be, so starting this group was kind of, we're trying to figure out how can we make the differences and where can we do them. And then I think we started to build community. And as we reach out across the state, so all of the different groups that we're touching and pollinating all these flowers, I see it growing, and so I see movements, and so getting to meet you, and then now working with Beto, and so the Blue Caucus, and so all these other groups, as we go through, it seems like it is growing, and so that's a very positive thing from my perspective. And so we have everyone has a cause to run against, and so I think it's a good foe out there, and so I think because of that we have a good group coming in.
Yeah, one of the things I found, I started going on Reddit, and you got to really watch what you see and not, I'm sorry, and then and check the boxes you want to see stuff on it. At any rate, so I started posting on Texas politics, and the people on there want good news. They will be absolutely in their deepest pit of despair. Give me anything. Just tell me something good going on in the world. And I'll tell them, this is my nonprofit, and this is what I've gotten accomplished. And I am one out of many people in the Texas that are nonprofits and that are going out and getting stuff done for the good. And they'll write back, I'll get 1,200 views like overnight. And I'll say,
Hey, I'm glad you said that. I was going to bring that up, by the way. You're getting 1,200 views a day right now.
right.
That's
Well, yeah, on the
for,
YouTube channel.
for
I
electing
usually-
a county commissioner and others, right?
Yeah, who would have thought?
Yeah,
Who
how
would have
cool
thought
is that?
With videos that would do that. But I think the most I gotten on that website was 300,000 on one post views.
Wow.
And I could get 60,000, I could get 75,000 on just, coming up little bits, like I said here.
Well, what's your total view number? Do you know? Like if you take the 300 and you add the 60 and so forth?
No, I have
You
no
don't know?
idea. I'd have
Okay.
to go through and add them up.
Yeah.
And
That's all right.
yeah, so and the same thing on the candidates when I'll say, like, Gia Saffarini, I said, honey, you got 1,200 views over the weekend. And she goes, what? She got all excited. I was going, and I said, yeah, you did. That many people are interested in what you're, and I think it was because it was a film based film, not one of her paid videographer films, which she doesn't do, and she came to, she came to the ballot order meeting. And so she spoke at the ballot order meeting. I filmed her there, and I put that up, and it just would climb. And so I'm amazed at how many people, how many views I get on stuff like that. And like I said on the YouTube channel, it's sitting at 67,000 right now, and gaining about I think I gained 900 one night this week. Just over, I went into sleep, got 900 more people had looked at it.
Well, that's another, if I can be optimistic for one more moment, good thing about this moment is there's sure a lot, and I count myself among these, a lot of us more engaged in what's going on and
well, one of the things
growing over time.
Yeah, but that you need to know about though is on what I'm doing that I'm finding that's super amazing, especially in Travis County. I've got to go back. I've just about got Travis County, and I've got 6 more people to go to have that page up. And on there, I was amazed at how many incumbents have nobody running against them.
Yeah, I heard a stat.
Shocked.
No, I heard this stat that 90% of elections in Texas are decided in the primary.
Right.
Right. It's not exactly the same, but it's like it's all happening right there.
Yeah.
Right?
So and we were holding on to our offices by tooth and claw. Once we get a candidate in there, usually people will come. This is how Texans think. Oh, they've done that job already. They're experienced. Let's just keep them going. And that's what they do. So once you get into office, you're good on most of them, as long as they don't mess up. But, so that's wonderful. But we have lost. And one of the things I did was I put, and this was a big eye-opener, I would put a little elephant by each one that was appointed by Abbott or Perry. There's people still running as a judge that was appointed by Perry way back in the day. And the thing is that what I figured out that's going on is that a judge, Republican judge or whatever, will be ready to retire or whatever he's going to do, quit being a judge or whatever. And he goes, well, then someone talks to him and says, drop out 2 months early. And then I can appoint someone to take your place.
Yeah.
And that's the way it goes. And so we've lost the Supreme Court. We've lost the top appellate courts. And I have not been able to find a comprehensive list of everything that Abbott has appointed. And I mean, I've asked Secretary of State, I've asked and asked and asked, and I get little bits and pieces. And he's appointed people on boards of the colleges. He's appointed people on little bitty committees in the middle of nowhere that doesn't matter to anything. He has got his little people in everything. And it's just turning more and more and more where we don't have control over those very important offices because he has not elected. These people aren't elected.
Right.
They're appointed.
Well, you look at what's going on in universities right now and no controversial topics. My goodness, that is scary and deeply, deeply wrong. It's like,
Yeah, I went through that as a
like-
classroom teacher.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
well, let me just say, that was one of the things I was talking about online, because there's a big thing with American Indians and Hispanic people, and saying, no, you're really an American Indian. You were all
Yeah.
this and all this.
Yeah,
And
I actually
also-
know someone like that, by the
Yeah.
way, who's got in American
You
Indian,
do-
Native
yeah,
American
you do
blood.
your DNA, and
Yeah.
it shows you're not an Hispanic. And I was saying, when I taught art class, I taught that Native Americans were from the top of Canada to the very bottom of South America, and there were millions and millions of tribes, and
That's something we don't appreciate, by the way. I'll just speak personally. I never stopped to think how many millions of people there were here. I mean, I knew there were, I'm talking, not me today, but me 20, 25 years ago. Nobody ever put a picture in my head of a nation or multiple nations, of millions of people here.
right. And the Nat Geo actually came out with a map of it that I thought was incredible, because there were so many different tribes. They had to put them out into the ocean and put an arrow to where they lived, and it was hundreds of thousands. You can't find that kind of map today. If you find one, it may have 100 tribes for the whole America. No, that's not even a tip of the iceberg of how many tribes were actually here. And that's, anyway, along with respect for world cultures, I would teach them, this is how they make their pottery. This is how they do their weaving. And to get the kid in different groups, cultural groups, and show we need to respect them because they have their own language, their own way of dress, or what we call costumes, or native dress. So where they fix their hair, what they eat, and all that. And I said, and it's all different. It makes them unique, and they get something special to the world by what their culture is. I said, and we need to respect it. I was doing that long before we were allowed. But it was part of my curriculum, and I'd say, well, and I'd approve
Right.
it. This is part of my standards. And
So the lesson here, I think, for anyone listening, is there are always creative ways.
there is always creative ways.
Yeah, to share those things that you believe in deeply. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to kind of turn toward close here. Okay. Tell everybody, where do you find Face to Face again?
Okay.
The Face to Face project is found.
It's there's a website that's a Wix website, and it has on there the data. So it'll have actually a baseball card of the candidates by county, and they really like that.
Wait, what? Baseball cards?
Yes, they have baseball cards. So they have a picture of
There
the
we go.
candidate on when it's on each county, and then it'll have a picture, and then it has all their web links in the bottom bar. And Mother Against Greg Abbott ran with that when they found out I was doing that. So now they've got printed out baseball cards with the main points of the candidates' platforms on the front and the back. So you can actually hand them, and mine are just all on the page. And then, so that's on one side. Then if you go to candidates by office on the website, then it'll have a picture, a bio, and all their web links, including their YouTube channels or their video links and all that on there. Every link I can find on them. And of course, with a judge, you may have just one, and that's their professional page or whatever, which is fine because they need to keep their.
So,
privacy.
is there a URL that people should know? A web?
Well, I would have to send it out.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it's
So look up Face to Face
Yeah, that way,
project.
look up the Face to Face project, Bonnie
okay.
Krahn. If you look
Okay.
at Bonnie Krahn, it'll come up.
Krahn.
And that's how I find it every way.
Yeah.
Use her name and then
Yeah,
Face
and
to
I was,
face.
And
I
then
was,
boom,
tell-
there it
I was
is.
telling you that
All
the
right.
Krahn is the crane bird in German. It's a bird that gets on top of the chimney, so they're named after the crane bird. And my husband's family came over in 1850s over here. But anyway, then I have a YouTube channel that's grown like leaps and bounds, and it's we always need people to subscribe to both, and I don't spam anybody. Good Lord, if I could get one newsletter out a year, I'm doing really good. but so we don't, and all that. And so the same thing, if you don't know how YouTube works, they give perks to people that get over 100,000. Okay. And once you get up past that level, then there's perks that help to pay for the website that they will help you with. And also, it has to be so many minutes of viewing time and all that. And I was looking at my analytics on there, and I was really surprised who uses the YouTube channel, because it is mostly people from San Antonio, and it is mostly men. 70% of them are men.
I think the reason for that is sitting right down here at the end of the table.
But they're from all over the world, though. And I need to go in and hone that back, because I need to protect the candidates, and I don't need certain countries being able to see everything that we've got on, but which I'm probably really, really naive about.
Well, knowing a little about cyber, you actually never really know for sure.
Right.
That's where those countries, that's where they're coming from.
But I try to protect them. And something that we are looking into also is, like a while back, there was a judge in Travis County that opened the door with her daughter and was shot in the face.
Yeah.
And that her personal address was found easily online. And I try to keep that from going there. I try to make sure that I post the candidates' campaign pages, not their personal pages, because you need to keep your family safe. And there is documents that you can fill out with Secretary of State and with the Elections Office that keep your name, and anybody that's an FBI, CIA, police department, fire department, any judge, anybody like that that's in a profession that where they could be harmed, can fill this out, and it keeps their address from being put on the roster rolls. But there's a quagmire there, because I've talked to policemen before that signed up for that, and they put what comes up when they go to vote is their courthouse where they're hired. So if they live in a different county, they don't get to vote for the people on their own ballot.
Oh, wow.
So it's just stuff we still need to look at and figure out.
Bonnie,
how to
you
solve
find
it.
problems and you solve them.
I look into
And
see how I can.
you talked about people making a difference. You have been making a difference for decades. Thank you for what you do.
My pleasure.
One last word of wisdom from you for those who are listening, who are watching what's going on in our country and our state, and want to act but don't know how to start. Do you have any advice for them?
You mean to start doing what I'm doing?
Anything.
Anything.
They're sitting at home and they wish they knew what to do. And
Okay.
what would be a first step that they could take?
Okay, I needed to say this to our candidates, and I need to say it to people who run up against MAGA and all this. And this is Diplomacy 101, okay? And in college, just understand, at UT, you could take those classes for government where date, time, place, all. I took agrarian foreign policy, which Kissinger taught the semester after I left. Okay, so anyway, so you learn on this, and this is so very, very important. Whenever you go into negotiations, or whenever you talk to somebody that's in opposing views, or you need to get that person, like a candidate or whoever, to do things, you never make it about yourself. You make it about how it will affect the other person. You will benefit from this if you do so and so, so and so. You don't play the empathy card. They don't care. They're caring about themselves and their family and how they're getting by in the world. And they probably have no clue how you're existing.
You know, this is also marketing 101, just for what it's worth.
Yes. And so you go in there and you'll say, if you do this, this is how you'll benefit. And they're going to go for it. Yeah. And we did that with parents too when we had parent conversations. Yeah. We didn't say, I need you to do this because your kid is driving me crazy in my classroom. Yeah. No, I'm going to, because this will help.
So I'm going to take your lesson and translate this to the sentence we'll leave people with, which is, you may be sitting at home and it may be that you are a little scared to start or you don't know where to start. Find any event that is happening and go show up and find out that there are other people out there who feel the way you do.
Yeah.
That
Absolutely.
that is the encouragement that you will receive will make you realize that you are not alone in this, which is part of why we're doing what we're doing. Phil, I asked you this same question an hour and a half ago, but so maybe it's not fair to ask you again. But what advice should we give to people as we sign out?
Vote. Vote. Vote.
Vote. All right, everybody, get
Know
out.
who you're voting for.
Yeah, get
Oh,
out.
my goodness.
Get out there and go vote. So, what did you learn about your democracy today? You better have learned a lot listening to Bonnie Krahn talk about her background and the things that she does. You can learn more about Speak USA at our website, speakusa.org, where you can learn how to learn, learn how to learn, connect, give, and speak up. Thank you for joining us, Bonnie. Thank you so much for being with us, Phil. Here you are again. Thanks for being here again. Everybody, go out and speak for the USA.